High school is a pain, especially when you're an obnoxious nerd nobody likes, like I was, and nobody will go out and have fun with you, so you get stuck sitting at home watching anime. This was me back in the day. And with the anime boom in full swing and a wider than ever before variety of shows being licensed and released in small single DVD volumes, $30 for 4 episodes every 3 months that you'd save your allowance for and basically not buy anything else except manga and candy from the school vending machine, and one of the first series I began collecting is one that got me through those days when I desperately wondered why I had no friends and sat around memorizing the circulatory system. Battle Doll Angelic Layer, or Kidou Tenshi Angelic Layer in Japanese because of a Gundam pun that doesn't translate over to English, is the adaptation of a 5-volume or 2 omnibus manga by Clamp, and it's often cited as an example of anime adaptations that are significantly better than the source material. The manga is a fun tournament battle game story, don't get me wrong, and it's a fantastic foundation, but the anime developed the plot, characters, and world more, allowing it to really shine through. The story is that Misaki, who's new to the city, living with her aunt after her mum ran off and she was raised by her grandparents, sees a televised match of a game called Angelic Layer, where players control customized mechanical dolls with their minds and some cutting-edge technology and use them to fight each other. Seeing the national champion, Shu, win with a small-sized speed build, Misaki, who's insecure herself about being really short, is immediately inspired, and thanks to the help of a weirdo scientist who always pops up to give her advice, she spends her train ticket money on her very own angel doll to try the game herself. It's a children's competitive game story, but while most anime in the genre are trying to sell you either a card game they made a story about or a video game that they're adapting, Angelic Layer doesn't actually exist. Sure, they made a licensed video game later, but you can't go out and get your own angel, which kinda sucks because the series made a lot of people really wish you could. However, it does take a shot of reality at other series in that genre, because Misaki may win her fights, well, most of them, with sharp observation and devotion to the game and to her angel, but she keeps herself afloat while her opponents are breaking down because she believes Angelic Layer is fun. Everyone else might obsess over glory or need victory to deal with their personal issues or never do anything but Angelic Layer, but while Misaki loves and appreciates the game, it's not all that serious. Governments aren't brought to their knees and spirits aren't channeled from other dimensions with dolls controlled by neural impulses, they're just fun to play with. And while there does turn out to be an ulterior purpose to the game, at least in the anime, its creator appreciates it as a game for people to play and have fun with and respects those who are in it for the sake of having a good time. When Misaki faces personal crises, she gets through them with Angelic Layer because the game helps her connect with people and makes her happy. It's that simple. The characters are lovable and memorable too. While Misaki's small friend group at school are the most prominent, the anime expanded on her various opponents who already made the odd appearance after their defeat in the manga, and gave them more things to do and their own arcs and motivations before and after their fights. It also switched around the main couples. In the manga, Misaki ends up with her friend Kotaro, while Tamayo, who was pining after him, starts dating Ojiro after a time skip where they hadn't even talked to each other beforehand. The anime instead has Misaki end up with Ojiro, and they get a lot of build-up on that, as do Tamayo and Kotaro, where the valiant tsundere childhood friend actually wins this time. For some reason, they made Ojiro explicitly 17 years old to Misaki's 12, which is kinda gross, but it's Clamp and one of their 2 major rules is ship anyone with anyone, so I'm just surprised it wasn't in the manga. There are a few blips to the adaptation, like the age gap with the side of projection that is the main pairing, and a minor enemy's character development to half-decent person not really getting the coverage it did in the manga, but overall the anime covers a lot more ground and does it better, changing some of the tournament rules to do so. The anime also reveals Champion Shu and her big secrets to us long before Misaki learns it, unlike the manga, so we get to see a lot more of her character and her motivations. It also gave her MS on top of the undiagnosed anxiety disorder she had in the manga, which ends up tying into the plot and actually develops her will they or won't they relationship with Ichan instead of just throwing one hint at the end. Of course, if you've read or watched Chobits all the way through, you know that either they won't or it won't last, but the Angelic Layer anime is different enough from the manga that you can still just assume that the Chobits connection doesn't exist. The anime were made by different studios anyway. And can we talk about the action sequences? This was made in 2001, so it's not the spectacular animation you'll find nowadays or even later in its own decade, but the angel battles are fun to watch, especially since Misaki is a protagonist who spots the tiniest things and figures out how to use her opponent's strengths as weaknesses and adapt the strategies of people she's faced into her own. It gets especially interesting in the semifinals and further on, when they incorporate terrain layers instead of the final destination like default, and introduce the concept of the second, a partner who sits at the sidelines with a headset for glorified backseat gaming. Angelic Layer was one of ADV's more fun licenses back in the day, and they thankfully kept it when the majority of their shambling corpse got back up as Sentai Filmworks. If you have the chance and you're a fan of shonen tournament game series, try picking it up. This is Secret Identity Studio, and just tell me when they invent this game for real. I want like 5 angels.